minutes for an opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have continued this subcommittee's long history of success in addressing the bipartisan water resources needs of our nation, as clean water is essential to our livelihoods, our health, our environment, and our businesses. The strength of the American economy is reliant on a clean water supply, as it is key ingredient for manufacturing, farming, food processing, small business development, tourism, recreational businesses, and businesses. If we do not protect our nation's water, this will have a negative impact on business, as they will not have high-quality water they need for the production and growth. The decline of water requirements will require consumers, businesses, residents to pay more in water utility bills to treat the water before it comes to the tap. And I agree with you, we should not be competing with China, because we will have to lower our standards, and I don't want that. This is true whether you live in a coast or in the middle of the same country, whether you live in a big city or a small town, or whether you live in an affluent community or a community struggling to make ends meet. Over the past 50 years, the Clean Water Act has made considerable progress in addressing our nation's water quality concerns. Through a substantial investment of resources spurred by federal dollars from the Clean Water Act, this nation was able to fundamentally address the discharge of raw or partially treated sewage into our rivers, streams, and lakes. However, challenges remain. Over the last decade, communities and states have called for additional federal dollars and resources to address lingering high-quality concerns. In response, last Congress, House Democrats delivered with enactment of the largest investment in wastewater infrastructure in generations through the bipartisan infrastructure law known as BILL. Over the last 5 years, covered in BILL, this critical legislation will provide approximately $13.8 billion in federal clean water resources to address the many local water quality challenges. Further, in recognition that not all communities are on equal financial footing, the bill ensured that roughly half of the funding would be provided in form of grants or other flexible financing to address the needs of economically disadvantaged communities, including rural and tribal communities, many of which had borne the burden of environmental contamination for far too long. Yet, as important as robust water infrastructure financing might be, there are limits of what can be done relying solely on wastewater infrastructure investment. Over the past few years, more and more communities have experiencing recurrent outbreaks of harmful algal blooms that can produce toxins, kill fish, mammals, birds, contaminate drinking water resources, and cause human illness or even death in extreme cases. And then we have a new contaminant coming up, it's PFAS. We've got to look out for that. As shown on the maps on the screen, if you look at the screen, harmful algal blooms have become a national concern because they affect not only the health of people and marine ecosystems, but also the health of our economy, especially coastal communities dependent on the income of jobs generated through fishing and tourism. We all know that a major cause of these blooms is excessive nutrients, such as nitrogen and phosphorus, in the U.S. waters. Unfortunately, according to state data, excessive nutrients continue to be one of the nation's leading water quality issues. Today, approximately 58% of the rivers and streams, 40% of the lakes, 21% of coastal waters are impaired due to high levels of nutrients. You see the location of many of these contaminated waters on the map, second map on the screen. Mr. Chair, I ask unanimous consent. Both maps be made part of today's hearing record.
So ordered.
What is worse than that, according to EPA, the percentage of nutrient-impaired water waste is increasing, even with substantial investment in our nation's infrastructure, in wastewater infrastructure. And we need to do more. Very clearly, we need to do more. Unfortunately, in my opinion, every water bill advanced by this committee in Congress would needlessly weaken federal and state efforts to protect our waters from pollution, such as excessive nutrients. In my opinion, every water bill advanced in this Congress would result in more water bodies being impaired by contamination, such as harmful algal blooms, not less. Now is not the time to pull back on federal investments on wastewater infrastructure. Now is not the time to weaken the federal and state efforts to protect our nation's water and our country's water. Now is not the time to weaken a clean water future. We cannot regress. I welcome our panelists here today and look forward to valued input, and I would like to have unanimous consent that a letter from the National Wildlife Federation dated May 16, 2023, be included in today's part of the hearing.
Without objection.
I yield back the balance of my time.